Namo Buddhaya. This is really part 2, because I waffled on in part 1 and didn't get round to any questions. But it kept that video to 10 minutes, and I think that's a nice bite-size time. I'm not sure with these questions whether I better keep this to 10 minutes, so it's probably a good idea I kept it short there. This is the beauty of speaking to machines. You can stop yourself, or if you've said something, you can stop it. Mind you, I haven't got into editing, and I'm not going to, so you're going to hear what I have to say unedited. Let's get on with the questions. First question is from Norm. Always good to hear from you, Norm. Norm is from Australia. I would value your opinion on the Theravada Mahayana split. Here in Australia, the Mahayana stream seems to have greater presence. The Theravada followers seem to keep more to themselves. As a former psychologist, a fundamental area of interest is the overall philosophy of Buddhism. So what Norm is asking me here is the difference. I won't say split, because you refer to split, there is a difference. I mean, there was a split thousands of years ago through partly geographical movement of these different traditions moving out of India. There became a sort of a northern and southern, it's called Northern Buddhism and Southern Buddhism, and it used to have different names, but there are more names now. But without getting into all of the differences and details of the different names and traditions within these two, as these are what you've asked of, and these are the most present today in countries that are Western countries that have adopted Buddhism as a new thing. If you go to a country where it's always had Buddhism, it will have one or the other. Mahayana in China, for instance, or those sort of regions, Northern Buddhism, and Theravada down here in Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, and where it has Theravada. So just quickly, I mean, Theravada is way of the elders, and it follows very strictly the teachings of the Buddha to the letter, the Vinaya and the Suttas. Mahayana has some additions to that, the same Vinaya. I don't know enough about it. I did look into it whilst I was researching Buddhism when I knew nothing about Buddhism, as I did with Vajrayana and Tibetan, Zen, and anything else I could find. This, for me, Theravada Buddhism became the obvious choice because it was totally non-theistic. I had nothing to believe in. It was simply, as I looked at it then, not so much now, but then, an instruction book, a manual for becoming happy, attaining freedom from suffering in this lifetime as a result of practicing the teachings of the Buddha. And it was very directly taught and demonstrated by the Sangha, the monastics present in these Theravada traditions, and especially this Thai Forest tradition, how one can do that, and how lay people also can practice towards this kind of liberation. The Mahayana tradition, and I don't know enough about it to give any valued comment, is more along the lines of hope and faith, as in the belief kind of faith in the return of the future Buddha, and basically all practicing with one goal to help each other, which is a lovely thing and nothing to criticize there. Not to become enlightened yourself, but to wait until everybody has the opportunity to meet the next Buddha. That's a very poor description of Mahayana Buddhism. But the difference is it's considered very generous and outgoing. And Theravada Buddhism is very much considered maybe selfish and introverted. But through my talkings to you, and you can see my practice, it's really not so much selfish, it's selfless. It's taking away that self. This is Theravada tradition, that is. Practicing, looking inwards and becoming enlightened yourself in order to show others it can be done in this lifetime. You don't have to wait eons and eons, which is countless millions and billions of years away, for the next Buddha to arise before becoming enlightened. You can do it now. So I chose that one. And Norm, I didn't copy the rest of your question, but you then went on to say that you've gone to both in your country, and I answered you directly and said, well, you're very lucky to have the choice, although of course choice can always lead to problems. Choice is definitely dukkha. With regards to your experience, they've both been good. The people have been very welcoming and kind, and your comment though was that it's more present in Australia. Well, it is because it is more visible. If you think about me here in this forest, who can see me? You can. This is just a very few, because I'm doing this. Other than that, no one would know I was here. This is a jungle, a forest in the middle of nowhere in Asia, where monks practice. So with this in mind, it can be seen as not very outward, and this would be the same in Australia, whereas in the Mahayana tradition it is that little bit more, I won't say evangelical, because they still, I think, abide by the Buddha's regulations on not to be promoted, not to be proselytized. It's not a soapbox, get on a soapbox and preach kind of philosophy. It is a practice, even in the Mahayana tradition. We don't go converting people. They come to ask, and we answer. So that might explain it a little bit. My opinion, and you did say you might not want to answer, well, I've given you really the reason why I chose Theravada Buddhism as opposed to Mahayana. There was also to some extent availability at the time. There really aren't so many Mahayana monasteries in the UK, as far as I know. Not strict, not what would you say? There may be different kinds of. I don't want to mention those because they're going to come up in another question for another video on another day. But with these two traditions, these two schools, there is the marked difference is the practice of becoming enlightened yourself or assisting others to become enlightened. We use the analogy of being in a sinking pool of mud. You know, you cannot help anyone else in that sinking pool of mud until you get out yourself. You need to get on firm land, and then you can pull others out. They'll see how you got out and they'll follow you. This is our analogy on this situation from this Theravada point of view. So, thank you for your question, Norm. I did answer you directly, and if you have any more questions on that, please ask. But it's a very common debate that's been going on obviously for thousands of years. Next question from Wilhelm, and Wilhelm, I think it's from Switzerland. Right, nowhere in the suttas it says that one should close one's eyes when sitting for meditation. Among present-day teachers so far, I have only found Ajahn Sucitto clearly mentioning the practice of gazing indistinctly into the nearby area of one's place. Yes, Wilhelm, that is absolutely correct. It doesn't specifically say in the suttas or in any of the meditation-related suttas, like the descriptions on Anapanasati, for instance. It doesn't say sit there and squeeze your eyes shut. No, it doesn't. It actually says, the Buddha says, sit, and in the posture, establish your mindfulness in front of you. And it's been interpreted, and if you look at the Buddha Rupas, the Buddha statues, his eyes aren't closed. They're slightly open. If he's looking just a little bit at the floor ahead, and Ajahn Sucitto is kind of referring to this aspect, I think, also. Forgive me, Longpo, if that is incorrect. I'm sure you're not watching this, but just in case. This area, you can just basically look without focusing, rather than squeezing your eyes shut like this to create an artificial darkness which doesn't work. It creates more visual impressions, lights. So the thing is, nobody, when you first went to sleep, said, you know, if you want to go to sleep, you have to close your eyes. You just close your eyes and go to sleep. So it isn't explained. The necessity also isn't there. You don't have to. But what the Buddha did say, and in quite some few of the suttas, Wilhelm, I think you know the suttas probably better than I in terms of quoting, but he says one should guard one's sense doors, you know, like blinkers on a horse. We guard sense doors, and with hearing and smelling it's difficult, but with seeing we can close our eyes. So it's the easiest way to guard, which is the most powerful sense interruption, sense door, seeing, vision, both mentally, visuals, and actually seeing with light. But if we close our eyes, we don't have that problem. You can, if you're very disciplined, though, keep your eyes open, looking at one place. There is the added problem, you will be blinking. So you're doing something extra that you needn't be doing if your eyes are closed. You may not notice you're blinking, but if you get into deep stages of samadhi, what's going to happen about blinking? You know, think about that. And blinking is a thing. We're doing it all the time without noticing. Maybe you could make blinking your meditation object. I'm not sure. I don't think it would work. Eyes closed from my point of view, and you know, not tightly, very relaxed. Always, I often say in guided meditations, relax your eyes, and through your day, whenever you're doing something stressful, relax your face. Yeah, relax your face and your eye muscles, especially around there. It brings the tension, it relaxes the whole body. You mentioned sloth and torpor, though. You get tired by having your eyes closed, or not necessarily you. There's a tendency for sleepiness to creep in with eyes closed that wouldn't be there with eyes open. I would question that that's the case. Have you ever been watching a movie late at night, really want to see it to the end, you're so tired you fall asleep all of the time? Your eyes are open and they're getting stimulated by the movie, but you still fall asleep. If you've not had that experience, maybe I'm alone, but it does happen. So no, I think you're going to deal with the tiredness as we deal with that third hindrance of sloth and torpor, tiredness, by opening your eyes. Because they were closed, that's great, it brings some light in, that wakes you up. If they're always open, there's nothing to change. That's the first trick to tackle sloth and torpor, to open your eyes, get some light in, and start again. Remember, whenever you're doing that, you're starting again. Your meditation, that is. So that's what I'd say about that. And but I think I've heard Ajahn Sucitto talking about this, and he's not really having his eyes properly open, staring at stuff. It's a case of being out of focus with just this near, so just not squeezing the eyes too shut. But I'll move on. Your next, and this kind of leads on to the next question. This is from Junyoung Song. And thank you for your lovely comments, Junyoung Song, and all of your messages. I want to be free from the six senses. Is it possible? That's a lovely question, and it's possible in samadhi, because you will let me get this right, in upachara, well, let's say the third, you'll be free from the hindrances in samadhi leading into the first jhana, and you will be free from the experiences of the sense doors, but not necessarily of feeling in terms of physical and mental sense. So you have sukha, piti and sukha, rapture and joy. The way to become free from the 6 senses is to see them in the 5 hindrances and deal with each one in your meditation one by one as they arise with their antidotes. So for instance, with tiredness, number 3, well, get more sleep firstly, and if that's not the problem, it's just boredom, open your eyes or change your meditation object, something to stimulate you back into, energize you, give you some energy back. Really the best thing to produce energy is success. So the determination, if you keep at it, you will find that the sleeping, the sloth and torpor, the tiredness will go away as you advance. So it's not one to worry about. More difficult are sensual desire with these 6 senses, because of course it's generally things you want to see, hear, smell, taste, touch and think about, or things you really don't want to see, hear, smell, taste, touch or think about that are going to affect your meditation. But you know, if it's something you really want, you want a cup of coffee. No, this is just such an impermanent desire. It's just going to be there for a moment. When you've had the coffee, you won't have even wanted to have got up and had that coffee. It's something you don't need. See it as a passing thought, and then look for the space between those thoughts. When you really can understand that all of these arising phenomena, these desires in meditation that result in these hindrances are very much passing, like passing trains in a railway station. You don't have to get on, let them go through, and the next one will come along for sure. But again, you can see the daylight between the trains as and when they're passing. Pay no attention, don't ignore them, don't try not to see them, but just see them objectively with no judgment, as they are, for what they are, just that, trains coming, going, thoughts coming, going, desires coming, going, feelings, physical, mental, coming, going. This is what they do. It becomes a routine. They come, they go, and no longer struggle. But when you get into the jhanas, you will be, for those time in your meditation, you will be free from those 6 senses. That is the case. So the answer is, it is possible, but you need to, you can't get rid of them in order to develop meditation. You have to develop the meditation to get rid of them. But I think where you're coming from is, can I get rid of them so I can develop the meditation? No, it's the other way around. This is the practice. This is the work we're doing. This is the job. So Creel has a question. I have a question. Okay, I have a question. You said you could meditate for hours, and I was impressed, as in my case, just after 20 minutes, my legs fall asleep or go numb. Any advice? Should I keep to 20 minutes longer or longer? Well, 20 minutes is a good start. Yes, you need to try and increase the length of time you're meditating. Firstly, watch my video on how to sit. It's still there. You'll find it because the picture looks different to anything else. It's one in a different place, so it just says how to sit for meditation, where I go into some detail as to how to sit. If you're sitting correctly, your legs won't go numb. This is why we adopt this posture. This is one way. And then also you're balanced, you're very well balanced in this tripod. So really watch that video and that'll answer that question. But yes, you should be trying to extend your meditation time longer and longer as you practice, because it's not, you should try to meditate 1 hour each morning and 1 hour in the evening, maybe find an hour in the day. If you get the opportunity to meditate for more than an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, then it only gets better. Now, it is quality rather than quantity, so, you know, keep this practice to a comfortable level, be kind to yourself, and develop it so that it is working, and only when it's really showing signs of giving you some benefit, increase the length of time. But if it's simply causing you discomfort and pain, either mentally or physically, then try and address that problem, but don't extend the time until you've addressed the problem. So it's going to be posture with this legs thing. And I go into some detail about that in that video, so perhaps please try and find that one, because it's a whole explanation in itself, too long to answer as this one question. Right, oh, and I think that's all of the questions I had to answer today. There are some more, but I will deal with those on another day. I've got some lovely squirrels running up and down these bamboo trees in front of me, so I'm sorry if my gaze was wandering. I was being distracted, but they're very pretty and fluffy, different colours. They, well, hard to describe, but they seem to be quite different to, they call them squirrels here, but they're nothing like the squirrels we're used to in the UK or the squirrels I saw in India. They're more, in fact, they almost look like red squirrels that we have only on the Isle of Wight in the UK, and Brownsea Island and one other island in the UK do we have red squirrels, because the grey squirrels killed off the red squirrels, and they came from America, I think. These look like red squirrels, but they have white tails, sort of orangey tails. Anyway, that's really not anything to do with this, and I can't show you them, so I'll stop talking about them. Thank you for watching. May your practice go well, and Namo Buddhaya.